One of the downsides of trying to maintain a YouTube channel that doesn't truly specialize in a single IP is that you often get pulled in different directions. Now dropping the fact that I am not a full-time content creator, I do maintain a full-time IRL career that has lately been dropping epic levels of crunch on me, and you can probably see where this one's going. Now I could sit here and go down the list of why I haven't posted any Outriders content in so long, but it would be rather boring to listen to. Welcome back to the channel. My name is LtBuzzLitebeer, and today I wanted to give a rundown of the state of the game. You know, a report card for Outriders and Worldslayer, and I'm sorry to say that the game is not in a place where I can continually create content for it. Don't get me wrong, it is playable, and I would argue it is still a wild, chaotic experience, but it has lost so much momentum, and I attribute this to 5 areas where it just really missed the mark. But before I dive into this breakdown, I wanted to again thank you all for the continued support for the channel. I check it every day, and we are now under 2,300 subscribers away from that magical, that mythical 100,000 subscriber achievement. In case you aren't yet a sub, please smash that sub button, and don't forget to ring the bell to receive all my future upload alerts. Let's dive right into this one. Like I said, I think I've narrowed the misses down to 5 key areas, and these are just my opinions. It could vary wildly out there from player to player, but here's my thoughts on the whole thing. Number 1 is probably the most obvious, and it has to be the overly oppressive grind to reach that final stage of endgame level 40. I've spoken on this before and how I feel PCF should have made the grind all about achieving ascension points and levels, but that point is moot, seeing as how the game is out and in this configuration. Anyways, what I find remarkable is the fact that PCF had not 1 but 2 closed betas for Worldslayer prior to going live, and one of the most consistent items mentioned was the fact that the grind was just too much. And keep in mind, this was back when the game had a much faster leveling up system that awarded players far more XP than it currently does. Now, I got to play the Worldslayer DLC a full week before it went live to the public, and back then we had a much more favorable XP leveling system. And looking back on it all, I probably should have no-lifed that first week. We had all that bonus XP, you know, I could have had multiple characters near or at level 40. But as soon as the game went live to the general populace, that initial XP system was back down. Not just by a little, but by a massive amount. Now sure, it was buffed slightly a few patches ago, but it is still such a brutal grind that it just burns people out. Then you add in the fact that it is character-wide and not account-based, so if a player has the mythical stamina needed to get one of their characters up to level 40, they have all the other classes waiting for them, along with that brutal grind just staring them straight down into the face. I've been slowly and steadily getting my 1 Techno to level 40, but just being honest here, there is no way in hell that I'm going to immediately just jump back into my Devastator, Trickster, or Pyro and go right back at that grind. And I think what I am feeling is echoed by a vast majority of the player base. There's probably some casuals out there who hit the game a few hours every couple weeks, and then of course you have that super hardcore rust. And then there is this massive void of players in between that just got burned out and walked away. On a quick side note here, and I'm way off script, but personally for me and my channel, whereas I used to have a wide range of Outriders video concepts I could lay into, you know, like patch notes, builds, changes, and general impressions, well now, since I don't have the needed time to grind out hundreds of hours of playtime, my Outriders content concepts are just extremely limited. My build guides are gone. My thoughts on crafting, looting, and build concepts are as well. It's really just cut me back to a few very narrow ideas, and after that, I have nothing to offer. All right, back on script, and I appreciate you listening to me there. I could probably sit here and really zero in on the leveling system in XP, creating a 20+ minute video, but it's probably best that I move on to my number 2 issue, and that's matchmaking, and more specifically, cheating within that discussion. Now, playing in groups has always been a double-edged sword for me. There is definitely more chaos to be found, but I've always found issues with skills working or not working depending on who is hosting and overall connection stability. Now, that being said, I've always found the game to work its best playing solo. Logical statement, right? I know, but it kind of flies in the face of what the game was originally designed to be. But with Worldslayer, this debate of playing solo or in groups has reached new levels of danger, especially when it comes to cheaters. Now, since PCF somehow found it necessary to totally disable easy anti-cheat, rumor has it that it was causing issues with their peer-to-peer connections and Xbox Live. I don't know if there's any validity to that, but anyways, EAC not being in the game has spawned one of the most rampant cheating epidemics I have ever seen in a video game. Well, maybe not as bad as Battlefield 5, but pretty damn close. Now, I've made my viewpoints well known about cheaters, and how if someone wants to cheat in their own time and their own single-player PvE experience, I don't really have a problem with that. That's on them. But when they introduce those cheats into a public forum, now that's when I take issue with it. Though since Worldslayer dropped, cheaters and modders have become a million times more problematic, since now they have the capabilities of modding not only their client, but yours as well. Meaning that, yes, they could be generous and boost your character up to level 40 along with your ascension points up to 200, or they could totally just screw you over, go rogue, and destroy your character. In a few short moments, they can reset your stats, your mods, your weapons, and the list goes on. And all of this without your consent. So that legit level 40 character you no-lifed to get to that in-game point could be gone in the blink of an eye, and you have no recourse or possibility of restoring or protecting all your hard work. Now, I have no idea what went on at PCF with the code or how that peer-to-peer issue was being handled, but the fact that someone has the capabilities to hack your accounts with or without your consent, and to the positive or negative, is just so not right. This is now common knowledge, which ties back into the matchmaking issue with the game, and since it is so dangerous, players simply won't matchmake at all, further hurting the co-op experience. Stepping back and just taking a quick look at the list, I probably could have moved this number 3 issue up to number 1, but number 3 has to be loot and crafting, because it's a huge issue with the live game, and it was baked directly into the way Worldslayer was made. Now, since Apoc gear is the gold standard, crafting is now totally removed from the game. You can't craft any Apoc gear or weapons, or improve their rarity. So that older practice of farming lower level gear and then improving the rarity in the hopes it would work for your builds is now just gone. You are forced to use the gear the game gives you, further limiting build diversity to very narrow concepts and pushing most players towards just using all legendary builds, because at least with those, they knew what they were getting in terms of attributes and mods. The gear game, the build crafting for Outriders, was effectively squashed, flatter than a pancake, and it became 5 legendary pieces with static attributes, and all you could do was just adjust one of the 3 mods. There's another entirely fascinating subject intertwined into this topic, and how PCF locked certain Apoc mods to only roll on certain gear pieces, again, further limiting build diversity. Up until recently, Tier 3 mods in the Apoc mod slots were generally found in vendor items versus being looted, and for months the game was actually a vendor farming simulator. The ability to find the correct loot pieces has always been an issue since Worldslayer went live, and yet here we are, and it still remains. And listen, I get it, it's a looter shooter, and there needs to be some level of grind to the gameplay loop. But when you have to loot thousands of pieces to finally find a piece that might work for your build, that's just downright excessive. Now, looping back to topic number 1, and when you take the loot grind and then you tack on the XP grind, players just look at it all and throw their hands up in disgust. Maybe if the loot grind was more generous, players could look past the deficiencies with the XP grind and vice versa, but with Worldslayer, neither is player friendly, and that's how I tend to base my opinions on a game. Is it fun? Is it rewarding? Is the time invested versus returns gained enjoyable? And when it comes to Worldslayer, and I'm not trying to throw shade here, but it is not. This next one is a bit more specific to me, but number 4 is how it boils down to the ambassador program, how we are not leaned on or really advised or consulted on anything to do with the game. And don't get me wrong here, I am not high and mighty and feel that PCF should consult us before making any changes to the live game, but there are literally hundreds of highly experienced players in the Ambassador Discord program. These are people that can spout Outriders down to decimal points. They know exactly how every single mod performs, what is best, what is not. They know every bug, every mechanic. Okay, you get the point. I am going somewhere with this, just stick with me. And it is that with all of these incredibly knowledgeable players, with all of these ideas and how professionally they can get their points across, we are not consulted on really anything, leading me to ask why exactly the Ambassador program exists at all. It's like putting together the most elite all-star sports team of all time and then not allowing them to play in the game. And this kind of ties into a broader discussion that we can just kind of label as bugs. Some of these are legacy issues and others that were introduced when the last patch went live. Anyway, ambassadors are usually on the leading edge of discovering these issues, and they are normally reported in near real time, and it all just feels like it falls on deaf ears. Posts are often not acknowledged, and with this we also rarely see any sorts of anything to do with a roadmap. There's no idea when or if something is being looked into, what it may be, and more importantly, when it might be addressed. It's this old familiar tactic that PCF takes where they deliver the product and then they just shut off all the channels of communication. We are still sending them messages, ideas, and thoughts, but the chatter back from them is silent. And we're going to use this kind of as a segue to bring me to my 5th and final topic. And this one is squarely pointed at PCF. And I want to preface this one with the message that I do like their Outriders creation. I think it has a real chance to succeed in a crowded marketplace as something different and unique. But, there's always a but there, but they make some absolutely mind-boggling decisions that often lead me to ask, are they trying to punish us on purpose? And I know that's a bold statement, but I rarely play a game where I look at it and I get these thoughts. But with Worldslayer, I get them frequently. Alright, so let me give you some examples. When you get constant feedback during multiple betas that the XP Apoc tier grind is too much, and instead of taking that feedback and making adjustments, PCF doubles down and makes it even more brutal when the game goes live. Or how about how long it took them to adjust the tier 3 mods never appearing on loot drops? Almost like PCF made that change rather reluctantly. How players discovered you could farm more anomaly extract from the Horus bosses than from the trials, so PCF went in and stealthily just shut that one down. Or how the Arbiter farm was severely nerfed just because the game wasn't being played in the manner they wanted it to be played. Or even how, despite the player base delivering a unified message, the fact that PCF refuses to do a weapon balance pass and open up the game to more than just assault rifles and shotguns. Now, I'm not saying that PCF should make the exact game the players want, and that's final. Actually, far from it. I mean, if you were to put 100 players in a room and ask them how to improve the game, you'd probably get 100 different answers. But on topics like XP rewards, loot grind, and overall how to increase the fun factor and improve the health of the player base, these are near universally accepted messages with overwhelming support, and PCF just doesn't either care to hear it or has a standing order not to act on it. Add on the fact that we don't ever seem to have a valid roadmap that we can reference. We don't know if something is on the table for discussion. Is it going to ever be fixed or adjusted? I mean, it's just tumbleweeds out here for Outriders discourse, especially since it looks and feels like PCF doesn't even want to be a part of that larger discussion. This one's probably gone on far too long, and there are so many other items I could have incorporated into the video, but we should probably leave those for another day. As always, leave me your feedback in the comment section below, and I will do my best to respond. Remember to smash that sub button and ring the bell to stay up to date on all my latest uploads. If you could take a few seconds more to rate and or share this video, it would be greatly appreciated. Remember, you can find and follow me on Twitch, Twitter, and are always welcome to join my community Discord server, which boasts one of the largest and most active Outriders communities available. Links to all my socials and an open Discord invite link can all be found in the video description and pinned comments below. Until the next one, this is LtBuzzLitebeer signing off.